No question that Chrystia Freeland has been one of the most prominent figures in Canadian politics over the last decade. She's had some of the most important roles in the Justin Trudeau Liberal government. But yesterday, she announced her resignation from cabinet. Of course, she had a post as Transport Minister, Internal Trade Minister. Those are not positions that are as lofty as what she had under Justin Trudeau. She's going to depart and take on another role, but it is not in cabinet. What does the timing say about this? Let's find out a little bit more. Robert Fife is with us, Ottawa Bureau Chief over at the Globe and Mail. Robert, welcome back to the show.
Good morning.
Timing's everything in life. What do you take away from the timing of this announcement that Chrystia Freeland out of cabinet and will now serve as Canada's special representative for Ukraine?
Well, I think she was looking for a way out. This is a woman who was the finance minister, deputy prime minister, foreign affairs minister, international trade minister. She ran a lot of the big files, including the renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, and she negotiated the European Free Trade Deal. She's had a lot on her plate, but this is a mid-level cabinet post. She's not a player here anymore. And I think she also realizes that Prime Minister Carney wants to bring in new faces, new talent to de-Trudify, if I may say so, the current government. And so she looked for a way out, a respectable way out. It's worth noting, though, that she obviously wasn't able to get a job on Bay Street, even though she was a former finance minister and had led free trade negotiations. That's sort of a sign that Bay Street did not see her as somebody that they would want in their corporate suites. And the job itself is really a make-believe job. She has no staff. She reports directly to the Prime Minister, but no staff. She's supposed to be a special representative for Ukrainian reconstruction. Well, hello. There's nothing to reconstruct because every day Russia is bombing Ukraine and its cities, so there won't be any reconstruction until after the war has ended. So you can see that this is a role that, it gives her a title, and certainly she'll be able to travel to Ukraine and to conferences to talk about it, but it's not really much of a position, to be honest.
Robert, not lost on me. You're not the first person to tell me this morning. We start off our show at 9 o'clock with a panel discussion, and not the first person to say that this new role is pretty much a made-up role for her, and I find that absolutely striking. I wonder, Robert, what this says about what else is going on inside the Carney government. Is there anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we know, for example, I wrote a few weeks ago that Bill Blair, who was former Toronto Police Chief, former Public Safety Minister, former Minister of Defense, and Jonathan Wilkinson, former Natural Resources Minister, who were dropped from the cabinet, are, I'm told, going to get diplomatic posts. Mr. Blair to the UK as our High Commissioner, and Mr. Wilkinson to Germany. Because they don't, if they were high-profile cabinet ministers, they're sitting on the back benches now. They want out. And I expect that will happen sometime after the House session is over and the budget is delivered, because he wants to have some by-elections so he can bring in some new, highly qualified people that he can put into his cabinet. Somebody like Tim Hodgson, for example, who is an investment banker with Goldman Sachs, a good friend of Mr. Carney's, is now the Natural Resources Minister, and he's been given pretty heavy responsibilities in terms of getting energy projects going and infrastructure projects going. So that's what I think you're going to see. So you'll have Blair, you'll have Wilkinson, you will have Freeland. There'll be at least 3 by-elections, if not more.
Jeez.
And I think we're also hearing that Stephen Guilbeault may not be long for the world either, because his passion is environment, and he's the Canadian Heritage Minister, and this government has a different approach to the environment than the strong interventionist approach that Mr. Guilbeault has pushed under Justin Trudeau. So I wouldn't be surprised if he also will be leaving at some point.
So we're with Robert Fife from the Globe and Mail, and I'm happy you brought up Stephen Guilbeault, because part of the things I wanted to bring up with you is, that whole notion that there's now like an environmental caucus within the Liberals, and there's a growing schism between that group of Liberals that are very, very environment first, and some of the messaging now that's been coming from Mark Carney on how he's going to tackle economic growth and becoming an energy superpower. So do you think there is, along with Stephen Guilbeault, perhaps there's other issues behind the scenes, a battle internally?
I wouldn't make too much of it. There may be some grumbling, but they owe their electoral survival to Mark Carney.
Uh-huh.
There would have been very few Liberal seats if Mr. Carney hadn't won the leadership and came away with a strong minority government. This government was destined, as all the polls have shown for almost 2 years, was destined for the dust pile. So you may get some grumbling, but nobody's going to seriously challenge the guy who saved their butts.
Well, very true, right? They do owe their jobs to how Mark Carney pulled that one out. That's for sure. Let me ask you, as Parliament resumes, how do you describe the events of this week, and Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre jostling for the first time in the House of Commons?
Well, it's very predictable stuff. We always make too much of the return of Parliament, and then we all go yawn. I don't think most Canadians pay much attention to what's being said in the House of Commons question period, because it's really a lot of performance, right, and not a lot of substance. But I don't. The question period to me is not what's most interesting thing about the return of Parliament. This is still a minority government, and the opposition parties control the committees. And the committees is where they can cause a lot of trouble for the government, because they can whatever investigation they want to launch, or they can call ministers or experts, or they can do all kinds of stuff that could really cause political trouble for the government. And I think that's what you have to watch for, is what they do in the committees, less so what's said in the House of Commons during question period.
The committee, that is a very interesting point about the committees and who controls those committees. Can I just ask you if the talk of the budget is weighing down on the Carney government?
It's huge. I mean, first they said it would be first they said it wasn't going to happen until next year, and then they said, then there was such a backlash, they said it would be in October. Now it's going to be November the 4th. This is probably the most, aside from the infrastructure announcements that the Prime Minister is doing over the next couple, we've already had some, but there'll be more. The budget is going to be a huge issue, because the deficit is clearly going to go up, because we have the economy is slowing down, and he's committed to spend a lot of money on national defense, and he's also promising some kind of austerity, which means that they're going to take money presumably from the civil servants and put it on this other spending. So it'll be really interesting to be able to see what the budget entails and how it comes across to Canadians, because we have no deal with the Americans yet. So we're still facing the tariff war with the United States. It's contributed to a rise in inflation. It's contributed to job losses. The economy is not yet in recession, but could tip into it. I think the Bank of Canada today is lowering interest rates as a way of trying to see if it can stave off the economy from dipping into recession. So he's got a lot on his plate, and the budget is one that we'll all be watching for.
Robert, thanks for your time this morning. I will catch up again soon.
You're welcome. Bye.
Robert Fife, Ottawa Bureau Chief over at the Globe and Mail.